Money Monday is officially complete. Let's do a quick recap of kind of the action today, what we were looking for, how we traded it. Essentially, we came into the session with a gap higher Sunday night, futures gap higher. We wanted to see this morning whether or not buyers could reclaim that 41.75 level. It has definitely been a seller's tape with 8 of the last 9 trading days showing a down day, showing a red day. That has finally been stopped today with a much needed relief bounce. Now the question is today's bounce actual buying, or is it just something like some short covering, something like some much needed consolidation, a much needed breather before the next leg lower? One of the things I was looking at here on the daily chart was the fact that this bounce was done on fairly low volume. We still have a little bit before the close here, but if we take a look, the current volume on today's bar is 95% daily average, which contrasted to Friday 120%, Thursday 138%. So not much volume on today's bar. That can definitely be a concern. For tomorrow, essentially what we want to see is if buyers are showing follow through of today's move. Bulls are definitely not out of the woods by any means. They did manage to recover kind of an intermediate level of resistance at the 41.75. But we still have 4,200 overhead, 4,220, and then the 4,235. 4,235, as a reminder, was that daily breakdown point from last week. So before we really start to bring back the bullish narrative, you'll want to see that 4,235 recovered. Until then, it's going to be staying nimble and really assessing price action at those areas of resistance for any selling, because we can expect sellers to materialize once again at 4,200, 4,220, 4,235. So for tomorrow's session, for Tuesday, depending on the overnight action, I'm just going to be looking at how price trades versus this 4,200 as kind of the main watch for the session. Now, as far as individual names, we did have CVX on watch. This is going to be a second day trade, or excuse me, an inside day. We did post an inside day today. I was looking at it today for a second day trade. It did not materialize down through the lows. Now we have an inside day. So for tomorrow, we'll just be looking for the break of that inside bar and then trading with the direction of the break. We have McDonald's, MCD posted earnings today. The setup into earnings was not that great, but we do have a little more clarity now. So we'll be looking at this as a second day trade. We want to see continued strength up through 262, 263 area, essentially up through today's high. And then we do have ON as well, posted earnings today. Massive move on that daily chart. So we'll be looking very similarly to the CVX setup we just looked at, just looking for some continuation of today's move. So there's a daily breakdown today. We want to see if sellers continue to materialize on this play. And that's pretty much it for individual names. We have CVX, MCD, McDonald's, and ON, the semiconductor company. And then beyond that, just the ES setup again, looking for the reaction versus 4,200 as kind of the main watch for tomorrow, depending on overnight action. NQ did post an inside day on Friday. I had mentioned in the chat that the inside day would break with a move above 14,400. We saw that in the opening drive trade up through 14,400, and it gave about a 80 point rally there in NQ before essentially retesting session lows. No real follow through on the selling there. Now we're back up near session high. So interestingly enough, NQ did not make a fresh session high. Pretty narrow bar for today's action. Let's take a look at what is the range here. It's 172 points, and the normal ATR for NQ is 273. So pretty quiet day in NQ. As far as what we want to see moving forward here, I'm going to be watching essentially this near-term range. We have a 2 or 3 session range here between, you'd call it today's high 14,475 and 14,150, essentially a pretty wide range. It is a tradable range. We just want to see how the edges of this range materialize. Break higher would put it into that 14,600 area, which was the prior daily breakdown point. So keep an eye on today's range and NQ. If it breaks down, of course, you're just gonna go for the 14,150 area. So that's it as far as tomorrow's list is concerned. Any questions? Benny, it looks like you're in here. Any questions, sir? All good. All good. All right. Sounds good, man. I will see you in the morning. Have a great evening.